Welcome to Sunspots, where we highlight the many ministries and missions happening on the surface of the sun. That is, the Synod of the Sun. A region of the Presbyterian Church USA, we are Presbyterians in Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas, with dynamic and hopeful ministry happening in the name of Jesus Christ. Our prayer is that you find inspiration, community, and connection in the Sun. Let's get started. Now here's Valerie Young, Synod Leader and Stated Clerk.
Good morning. This morning we're welcoming Henry Owen, the Executive Director of John Knox Ranch in Mission Presbytery. Am I right? John Knox Ranch is also known as JKR, is about halfway between Austin and San Antonio in Fisher, Texas. Henry, I trust you'll correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That is all correct.
Awesome. Well, welcome. So, Henry, tell us about you.
Thank you. My name's Henry Owen, and I am the director of John Knox Ranch, as you introduced. And I have the special privilege of getting to work and serve John Knox Ranch after being a camper here. So this is my home camp. I first attended camp as an 8-year-old, and then every summer until I went through the leadership development program in high school, and then became a junior counselor, and then a counselor, and then a member of the upper leadership team for summer. So every summer from age 8 to age 22, I was out here. I met my wife out here, Emily Owen, who's a pastor in Mission Presbytery. So we are both so blessed that we get to now live on site and to give back to a place that was so impactful and formative for us. So I've been the director now for just over 2 years. We had 2019, which was a normal year, and then we had 2020, which was 2020.
Right.
So we're excited about the upcoming season and the upcoming summer for sure.
Well, cool. So let's start with, tell us more about John Knox Ranch.
Sure. So we are the summer camp and retreat center or retreat ministry for Mission Presbytery. So Mission Presbytery, as you know, is a huge presbytery. It's made up of 128 or so churches, and it's just a vast space. Mm-hmm. And we are the camp and retreat center for all those churches and that whole community. Our mission is to foster experiences of Christian community in the beauty of God's creation. So the way that we fulfill our mission is through all of our programs and through the way we take care of the land that is entrusted to us. Mm-hmm. And our site is absolutely gorgeous. We are in the Texas Hill Country, which is my favorite part of Texas. Mm-hmm. And we sit on a 300-acre nature preserve. And most of that space, about 220-ish acres, is undeveloped that we use for animal habitat, hiking. It's where our ropes course is, overnight camping. So we have a really, really gorgeous space in terms of the land and the biology. We also have a spring-fed swimming hole called Blue Hole that has 25-foot limestone cliffs surrounding it. It starts a creek, so there's a big main spring, and it starts a creek on our property that runs through our property and then into the Blanco River. So one of the things we have to have in Texas in order to have summer camp is places to swim. Mm-hmm. And so we've got some amazing spots. We've got a swimming pool, of course, but we have Blanco River frontage, and then we have this Blue Hole and Carper's Creek that is pristine and unique to us. One of the amazing things, I'm going off on a little tangent here just because I'm so excited about it, but the creek that is started by Blue Hole, there's a section of our creek that several years ago, some Texas Parks and Wildlife aquatic biologists were doing a big study in Texas where they wanted to really measure the diversity and the overall health of streams in Texas and creeks in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to have that study, they needed a baseline. They needed to have a benchmark of what to compare streams to. So they could say, well, this one's less healthy than this one, or blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And our creek, Carper's Creek, that's on our property, was the baseline for Texas stream health. So ours was the example of how a healthy stream in Texas should look. And a lot of that goes to the fact that the way we take care of it, and the way that we manage the plants and animals that are all around it, and the usage of that water source is one of the ways to protect it. So that's something that we're really proud of, and that is it yet another speaks to the impact that this land can have.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go backwards a little bit and just tell you, we're talking about our mission, which is to foster experiences of Christian community in the beauty of God's creation. So the two big chunks of that are Christian community. We really, really want Christian community is one, and then learning how to have a relationship with the natural world, right, in God's creation. That piece of protecting, preserving, conserving, and appreciating the natural world.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things are really what drive our decision making in programs and in new development, as far as buildings or changes we want to make to our organization. Is are we building a inclusive, loving community and ways for people to learn to live together in love? And are we managing the resources and the land and God's creation that has been entrusted to us in the best way for the land and for generations to come? So those are our guiding principles as we get to do our work.
Cool. So you mentioned, so there must have been plenty of opportunity in all of that in 2020. You mentioned the unusual nature of everything that happened in 2020. What did that look like for the ranch? I think there were probably some opportunities there for you, and then tell us what you're looking forward towards 2021.
Sure. So it was a very strange year. It was for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things about 2020, I mentioned that I get to live on site, and my wife and I have two boys, ages 7 and 10, and they're obviously on site with us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just, again, made us, one of the main takeaways was just a feeling of gratitude for the opportunity to live in a space and to be spread out and to be out in the country and to be so close to nature and so grounded. Oh, that was just a real blessing for us.
Mm-hmm.
If you got to be quarantined somewhere or stuck somewhere, we should certainly hit the jackpot on that.
Right.
We're a summer camp and retreat center, and which means we have two very distinct seasons in our ministry's work. Summer camp, which is just so fun and crazy, and about 10 weeks, got about 100 or so people living on site, 80-ish campers and 20, 25-ish counselors and summer staff.
Mm-hmm.
And we run a day camp at the same time, so ages 4 to 8 for day camp. And that's Monday through Friday. And then we have resident camp for rising second graders. So kids that are in first grade going into second grade, all the way up through high school, and then leadership development training, and so that they can become leaders either at camp or out in the world in whatever profession they want to go into. So that's sort of our summer camp season, and it's slammed and fun and exhausting and spirit-filled and amazing. And then we have retreat season, and in a typical retreat season, we would host groups from churches, maybe from businesses. A session retreat might come out. All kinds of our own retreats that we might book for a weekend that has a certain theme to them. And we typically try to rent to large groups. You know, we want this to be a place that the most people can experience. Well, we couldn't do that because of COVID restrictions. Oh, and another big thing for us about our program is our food service. Food, we really treat as part of our program, which means that we invest in it as far as time, people, money. We are really, really particular about what we feed people and how we feed people. So that goes for our summer camp and for our retreat season. So our food is excellent. And the way we feed people is we sit family style with our campers in their family units, which is their cabin groups. And we serve family style, which means there's more dishes. It's actually harder to do this,
right,
but the benefits are community. And if our guiding principle is how do we live together in love and community, then we need to learn how to say, please pass the green beans.
Right.
We need to learn how to say, does anybody, can I have that last piece of homemade bread, or does somebody else want it? You need to learn these skills. And so we work with our campers to do that. So we're really proud of our food and our food service. And one of the bummers of 2020 is that we couldn't offer food service to our groups, to our retreat groups. And another pivot we made was we really not serving retreat groups, but serving families. So we were able to sort of pivot and focus on family ministry through 2020, which means we self-limited to a number of families that we could have on site, and then we rented them individual cabins or tent camping sites. But the whole goal was, okay, the family unit is a little pod together, and they can come here safely. We'll come up with a no-touch check-in, check-out policy. And then they can still have the benefit. So many parents and families were stuck at home. Kids are on school, you know, on the internet, on doing virtual school. And so the need for a slower pace, the need for more space, the need for outside time, the need for nature, all of that it really, really increased. And all of that plays into our mental health and our emotional health and our spiritual health. And so we really wanted to be a resource for families to be able to use during this time. And we were able to do that, which is great. So that's a real benefit. We were also able to, not all of our camp families knew that they could come out here during the year, that they could just rent a cabin or they could come out. And so that was a fun realization that there was an opportunity to serve our camp families even more than what we were doing during the summer.
Okay.
So that's a bit about how the 2020 was different for us. 2021, so we are in a new year and we are in springtime, so things are looking good. It's amazing to look back at and sit down virtually with summer camp colleagues and what are our plans and what's the safety protocols and what's the CDC recommending. It's amazing to be in that process and then to try to think back to a year ago and how little we knew about COVID and how to manage it and how to be safe and what was going to happen. I just remember so much fear and anxiety and uncertainty.
Right.
And that's not all gone now, but we know so much more. We all do. We've all been having to figure it out, you know? So this summer we will have a safety protocol. It will be based around the current guidelines of the CDC and American Camp Association and American Association of Camp Nurses. So those are the organizations that we follow and base our safety guidelines with. The one really, really positive thing is summer camp staff. The CDC recommends that they are in the same priority level as childcare workers, which is right now for vaccines.
Right.
So we are in the process of getting all of our summer camp staff vaccinated, and I'm really hopeful. I've had my first shot. I get my next one in a week, and we're really hopeful that we're going to have our entire summer staff vaccinated before camp starts.
Wow.
Which would be a really, really big thing, not only for our counseling staff, for our staff, but also for the kids and for their parents that they're going to be returning home to after summer camp.
Sure.
So we are planning a summer filled with fun, faith development, friendships, outside time. I mean, it's we have seen 2 increases already this spring. One is in registrations. We've got 3 sessions that are already full. And that's ahead of where we have been in the past.
With those CDC regulations, are you allowed to accommodate the same number of campers, or are you having to reduce that?
We have reduced it from our typical capacity is about 85. We've reduced that to 60. Okay. So when I say we're full, that's at that 60 mark. Okay. And that's really going to allow us to spread out on our site more. Mm-hmm. We actually have done a couple of different renovation projects, adding new program areas so we can even keep people even more dispersed. One of the benefits of how we've always done camp is a small group camping model. There's generally 2 models. There's large group and small group. Mm-hmm. And large group is, you have a lodge and 100 campers sleep in there. They all go down to the dining hall. They sit wherever they want to. They get a tray. For some reason, the tray is always a little bit wet. I don't know why that is, but I've never gotten a tray that's dry at a conference center. Right. They sit wherever they want. They go through a buffet line, and then they choose all of their activities individually. Mm-hmm. Right. It's focused on the individual's choice and where they want to go with their day. They pick their elective activities. That's large group. Small group is really focused on a small group. It's focused on what we call a family unit. So right. We have 2 cabins that make up one family unit, and we've got a bunch of sets of these cabins. But 2 small cabins make up a family unit, and each cabin has a junior counselor and a counselor assigned to them. And then there's probably 10 or 12 kids in a cabin unit, and they're their family for the week that they're here. They sit together.
So they create their own bubble.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. And they do all their activities together. And this is how we've been doing camp since 1963. So this is nothing new to us. This is what we feel is the best camp experience, how to get there. And because it's focused on that bubble, that community that they're in, that small group, right? And so if we're trying to get them to feel what loving Christian community looks like, then let's make them one, and they can experience that. They negotiate the day's schedule together. They can't each decide where to go. They have to figure it out as a group. So we talk a lot about communication and compromise and working together and decision making. They do their low ropes course and the high ropes course together, where they're challenged as a group to overcome different obstacles. And now the CDC is saying in COVID time, that's the safest way to have summer camp. It's a little pod, it's a little bubble. And they're going around doing their own thing and staying as one little group rather than dispersing, coming back together. So that's one of the reasons that our site and the way our style of doing summer camp really is setting us up for success for this coming summer when we're finishing up this COVID. So one of the increases we've seen so far is signups. We've got those 3 sessions full, which means if anybody's listening to this and they want to send their kid, please sign them up. If it's at capacity, you can get on a wait list. There might be some movement, but the sooner you do it, the more likely you're going to get a sign up available. We are still doing refunds for people that need it. If they get to a point where they feel like it's not safe for their kid, We want to really be long-term relationship partners with our camp families. So if there's some reason that they feel like it's an unsafe situation, no matter what, we're always going to say, hey, you can roll it over to next year, you can have a refund, whatever is helpful to you. But sign up soon because those spots are filling up. The other increase we've seen is demand and need for scholarships. And that's mostly, we have a scholarship form, and in that form, we've been seeing a lot of families saying it's due to economic hardships from COVID-related loss of income, whether they lost a job or, their bills are piling up or all kinds of different challenges. We have seen more people asking for scholarships and an increase in the amount that they need in order to make camp affordable for them.
What about the your retreat season? What is that? Are you staying full with bookings for that? What are there any changes in that you're looking towards in 2021?
Well, so retreat right now, up until summer, we're mostly sticking with that family-centered ministry. After summer into the fall is when we're going to start really looking to book more larger groups, church groups, school groups, all that kind of thing, because we hope that everybody be vaccinated by then, and it'll be a much safer situation.
Right, and
we are expecting that there's.
Sorry, I'm imagining that would be like you would ask those groups to self-police in terms of, whether or not folks have been vaccinated and how they continue to, provide the physical distancing and all of that.
Yes. The first thing I'll say about that is that a lot's going to change in between now and, September, October. And so we just try to stay informed as things evolve, and then we adjust as we need to. We have a basic COVID safety plan that we provide to our families now when they book out here. For groups that are looking to the fall to have a retreat out here, what we've been saying is, here's what we're doing right now. Here's our plan now. What is your plan? So to your point, like, some of it is on them. Like, how are you going to keep your participants safe while they're on our site? So that's just we stay in communication and figure that stuff out together with each group. But there is a basic set of safety protocols that we make sure are followed. And if we have to, if there's a group that when we say, what's your safety plan? And they say nothing, then we can either engage them in coming up with one, or we can say it was probably not a good fit. So we do want to make sure that we are a resource and we are available, but that participants and other people that are coming on site feel safe and want to be here.
I hope you've been enjoying this episode of Sunspots. Most of us, especially in these times, need to hear more about the work of the Spirit, places where the energy has caused a solar flare and made big impact. It could be in your local congregation, your presbytery, or any ministry context. Send that good news and ministry ideas to the Synod of the Sun at Sunspots, SUNSPOTS, at synodsun, SYNODSUN.org. Now back to the show.
Great. So what are the facilities, especially for, what are your facilities like? I know that you just recently hit a huge fundraising goal and have made some, I think, upgrades to your facilities. Tell us about that.
Sure. So let me give you the overview about the facilities, and then we'll talk about a little bit about that campaign. Our facilities, again, we are a small group camping, and we're really proud that we are also a rustic, sort of old school summer camp. And what that means is our cabins, we've got two generations of cabins. We have screen cabins, which are screen sided. They've got, the screen walled. They've got power, they've got ceiling fans, and that's really it, and bunk beds. And those, what's interesting about those CDC guidelines are, those are preferred now because of the airflow.
Right.
Preferred to a closed-in, air-conditioned space because it doesn't have as much airflow transferring. You're essentially outside, but you're not getting rained on. You know,
Right.
they do get hot. We are in Texas. We've been keeping kids safe in these screen cabins since 1963. So what we love about them is they really teach kids how little you need. So in our normal lives, we have so many things and so many comforts that surround us. And so to have an experience where a lot of that is stripped away, then it really helps you focus on what we want you to focus on, which is your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your family unit while you're at camp, and your relationship with God. So it's another way that we sort of reinforce the program element and the growth element in our campers.
Mm-hmm.
It also makes them powerful. It makes them resilient, because if they might start out looking at the screen cabin thinking like, oh, I could never sleep there one night, let alone a whole week. And then they sleep there one night and they're fine. Actually, the first night, people don't sleep great in any new situation. The second night, they sleep amazingly well because we have worn them out so much. They've eaten good food. They're just zonked out. But by the end of the week, they've done this thing that they didn't think that they would do or want to do. And so it really shows them that they're capable of more than they think, which is another one of our goals. We want our counselors to feel like they have agency, they can do more than they think they can. And so having those little experiences of success sort of reinforces that. So those are our screen cabins and why I love them. Then we also have a set of cabins, or a generation of cabins, that do have air conditioning and do have bathrooms. They are duplexes, and we've got 4 of them. And so four duplexes, each one has a side that's identical, that has a queen bed and 3 twin bunk beds, a bathroom, air conditioning. And those are used for summer camp as well, but they get the most use during retreat season because they're set up really well for either group housing where we can have different groups in them and then they come together for meals and for meetings.
Right.
Or we can close those center doors in the duplexes, and then an individual family could be in each side. Parents and a couple kids could be in each side. So that's sort of the basics of our housing. We have a couple legacy buildings as well that were here when we bought the space that are houses that we also rent out and also can be part of. Whether if a group wants to, they can rent just the duplex cabins, or they could rent the whole place and have exclusive use of camp. A lot of larger groups either want that they need that for the people that they're bringing, enough beds, or the exclusive use and their program is such that it'd be better if they didn't share space with other people.
Right.
And so we can accommodate all kinds of different groups in those facilities. I will say we just went through a strategic planning process with our committee through the Presbytery, and we've got some plans to add a few more buildings to our site. And those include, we're still working on design and details and funding opportunities and all kinds of stuff, but we have one of the things that came out of 2020 is we have a lot of individual families that want to use our site. And so we need to make sure we can accommodate them. And so we've got this idea of a few tiny houses that could be used for family rentals or they could be used for single housing during a retreat. They could be used for our volunteer chaplain during summer camp. They're really flexible, and they could be used for a lot of things. We also discussed adding another duplex cabin so that we have more capacity both during summer camp and for retreat season. And then rebuilding one of our legacy buildings to be more of a lodge, or to have some individual rooms. Right now, our facilities are set up for group housing mostly, and we do get requests for singles. And at this point, that's not, we don't have the capacity for that. So we're going to look into that and see if there's a need for that within our community. You mentioned that campaign. Man, that campaign we launched in November of 19. And so had no idea that the global pandemic was coming and would shut us down, shut down summer camp or shut down. But what an amazing gift to be in a matching campaign during that year when we lost so much income from COVID. We ended up not having summer camp in 2020. We lost or postponed all of our large groups. And so it's not unique to us. I mean, a lot of businesses lost income, a lot of businesses closed. We were fortunate that we also had this matching campaign going on at the same time. So the gist of the campaign was actually a former camper who came to summer camp decades ago out here at John Knox Ranch. The memories of those sessions were so impactful that camper pledged to match all donations that came in 2020 up to $400,000. Wow. So our goal then was to raise 400, and we ended up raising 436, something like that. So then that was, the 400 was matched to 830 something thousand, which is just phenomenal and amazing. And I'm so grateful for all the individuals that donated, all of the churches that donated. We had a few churches, many churches in Mission Presbytery, a few outside of Mission Presbytery, but still in the Synod that contributed. And then foundations as well. We wrote a bunch of grants, and so grateful for that. The impact of that, first off, it allowed us to keep paying our bills during the pandemic, which is really helpful. It allowed us to rebuild our scholarship fund, our camp scholarship fund, so that now we're ready to be able to meet that need of those families that need more help getting to summer camp. It allowed us to do a bunch of repairs around camp that are not really sexy repairs, like replacing toilets that aren't in good shape. People don't really want to give to that kind of stuff usually. Right. Or siding I'm sitting in our office right now, and we just redid the siding on this building because it was all rotting and falling off. But little projects like that around camp that are needed and we need to get done. We also got to do a few things that are really impactful and sort of showy and fun. We just added a zip line, which is another camp activity that we can do, which is super fun. And we also added a new river swim access point. So we hired a rock crew, and they came in and put in a really beautiful rock patio with a fire pit on it. And that's going to allow us to host groups down there, but also use it for summer camp in lots and lots of different ways. So there's a whole bunch of different sort of upgrades and renovations or new activities that are going to come out of this campaign that we're pretty excited about. It also allowed us to do that strategic planning that I mentioned earlier, and really to think long-term about the organization. What do we need? Who do we want to be? Who does our community need us to be? All that stuff.
Cool. So where can people sign up or get their kids signed up?
Well, we're still booking families too up until summer. So we can accommodate weekend rentals or during the week rentals. All information about rentals and about summer camp is jknoxranch.org. So jknoxranch.org is our website, and then there's also a link on the Mission Presbytery website as well. So
I think I heard you mention tent camping sites. So are there other options?
Yep.
Well, not just renting the actual facility.
Yeah, so exactly. People can come and primitive camp, they can tent camp. We've got 220 acres of nature preserve that they can hike or ride their own bike on. And then we have those screen cabins, which is sort of camping, except make sure you're dry and you have power and you can charge your phone. So if you really want to try camping, but you're not quite there yet, the screen cabins is a great option for a weekend. Then they can rent a side of a duplex, or they can rent Calvin Cottage, which is a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath house that's near our creek. That's just gorgeous.
As someone who loves to camp, and I can do without a lot of creature comforts, there are those who will ask the all important question, is there internet access out there?
Not great. If you really need, let me back up and say, I live on site, and we also have an office, and so there is some internet.
Mm-hmm.
However, the connection's not great. It's satellite. If somebody says the word rain, it goes out. So we try to tell guests that it's just not a place to come if you really need internet.
Oh, well, that's
cell phone
fair.
service does work out. Yeah, I think it's a benefit. I mean, we really want to be a place where we want to live into that retreat center mentality.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you come through that gate, then we want your perspective to shift. And we want your anxiety and your stress of normal life and whatever's keeping you from connecting with God, with yourself, with the people around you. We want those things to fall away.
Right.
And often internet is one of those things that keeps us from connecting with each other. So if you really need to check your email, you can come to the office and we can do that there. But we would encourage people to shift their mindset. That's also why we don't have any TVs in our facilities. We want people to have a different experience than they do at home.
Right. I think it's only fair that people be prepared for that, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. And it's way better if they
die by their internet.
Yeah.
Right. So what else would you like people to know about John Knox Ranch and Retreat Center that we haven't already touched on?
Well, I want to share a little bit about a program or a project that we have ongoing called our Conservation Easement Project. And it's a little bit technical, but I think I can break it down a little bit. I've been learning so much about what a conservation easement is and why it's a good fit for us and how it's a tool that can help us and potentially other camps and retreat centers. And this came out of our strategic planning process. Really, again, we go back to that Christian community and beauty of God's creation, right? Mm-hmm. From our mission. The question of how are we best conserving and protecting and preserving this space that we have, these 300 acres. One of the ideas that bubbled up out of that was a conservation easement, or entering into a conservation easement on a portion of that property. So what that is a landowner, in this case it would be the church, it would be Mission Presbytery, enters into an agreement with a land trust, which is another nonprofit organization, in order to agree that in a certain area of land, for us, it's going to be about 240 acres or so of our 300 acres. We are never going to build a building on that land. We are never going to subdivide that land, which means we're not going to cut it up and sell chunks of it. It's going to stay natural. It's going to stay habitat. And you can figure out all those details. So for about what you can do in it, but the main things are you can't subdivide it and you can't build buildings. We don't want to do that stuff anyway. We want to protect and preserve and love this land. And so if we enter into this legal agreement, there's two main benefits. And these are both just way down the road, long-term goals that are going to set the organization up for success for decades.
Okay.
The first benefit is we're protecting that land. There's no way that we can sell it. We can cut it up and sell it, and there's no way that we can, build a whole bunch of buildings over there, or we could sell off a chunk and they could build a hotel. It's always protected, and that is a huge benefit and a huge gift to future generations. The other benefit for us is if we agree to never build and to never subdivide, there is a financial payment to us. And that land trust, part of their job is to go and find funding for the easement. So what they're doing is reimbursing the landowner for the value of potentially building and developing on that land. Does that make sense? So they're saying the value of each acre, if you were to build buildings and build condos or whatever, is X. And then if we do this easement, it's going to drop that value because the next person could never build something because the potential income is lost from that sale. So that difference, that per acre value difference, is the payment that a landowner could receive for entering into this agreement. So for us, because we are putting 240 acres of beautiful Texas Hill Country into this easement and entering into this partnership with Hill Country Conservancy, that's the land trust that we're going to work with, it means that we could receive $1.5 million-ish dollars. So there's still lots and lots to work out. But if you think about it, so it's a mission fit for us, right? We want to protect this land anyway, even if there was no money. Right. We're going to get to continue to use it the way that we've used it since 1963 for summer camp, for ropes course, tent camping. We can still do all that stuff. It protects the land long term, and we're going to use that 1.5-ish million. There's still lots of variables in where we land, but we're going to use that funding to set up an endowment for camp. That'll be one of the primary goals. So then camp will have an endowment we've protected the land long term, and then this endowment will protect the program long term. So those two really, really long-term forward-thinking goals, hopefully in one project will be successful. So it's a big deal. We're really, really excited about it. It's taken a long time to get to this spot. And we've had so much support from the John Knox Ranch Committee, from Mission Presbytery staff and their encouragement and their support, and from Mission Presbytery as a whole. Last October at our virtual meeting, we presented this concept and had to go through it and educate people. And, one of the challenges was it seems too good to be true. We're like, we want to do this anyway, and you're going to pay us to do it. Right. So it was an interesting trying to teach people why there would be funding for this type of thing. But the Presbytery had a vote and endorsed the project and approved it. So now it's just a matter of doing the paperwork and doing the survey and finding realty lawyers and doing the work to finalize all those details. But again, we're really, really excited about it. And in my opinion, it is an opportunity. I think that, private landowners should absolutely be looking into conservation easements, because there's lots of ways they can set it up where they could even include future plans for houses for their kids if they wanted to, and still protect the land from being just turned into Targets and Walmarts. And I think it's a real opportunity for camps. There are camps that are struggling right now, and one of the things that camps have is land, and they want to keep it. They want to keep it non-developed, and so just like it was a good mission fit for us, I think it's something that more camps should look into, as long as they look into it with the perspective of, is this a good fit to our mission and our goals long term? If they go into it with, this money is going to save us, let's get as much money as we can, that's never going to be a successful way to figure out a project like this.
Right. Well, that's super exciting. And you're right. It is fabulous stewardship of the earth and protection of the same. So that's wonderful. And it's super exciting. Well, Henry, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm grateful to learn so much about John Knox Ranch. I haven't made it there yet, but knowing that you have, knowing that you have those family spaces, I look forward to getting there real soon.
Good. Well, I'll send you some pictures of Blue Hole, and you're going to want to come and swim for sure.
Oh, cool. Well, I will make sure that all of the contact information for you and website links and things like that are in the show notes for folks who want to go and get their kids signed up or get their family space reserved. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Henry.
In the Synod of the Son, we believe when we work together across boundaries, we make visible the good news and find wholeness as the body of Christ. In our common calling, we impact lives together. So let's remember to connect with, equip, and empower one another in the name of Jesus Christ today and every day.